Good morning. Today we look at Song of Solomon, chapters 1 through 5. And the Song of Solomon is a book of love stories, love poems, and it's, there's between a woman and a man. There's times when it's the woman speaking, times when the man speaks, times when the people speak, and there's times when, the woman is describing the physical attributes of the man and the man describing the physical attributes of the woman. In chapter 3, verse 11, it refers to, the wedding of Solomon. It's, look, O daughters of Zion, at King Solomon, as the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, on the day of the gladness of his heart. And so it's, the Song of Solomon, and it's this, as I said, this love song between a woman and a man, a wife and a husband, the husband and his bride. And, but it's also been related to the love of God for God's people, for the Israelites, as God being the male voice, and as Israel, the people, being the female voice, and the yearning of God. And it is why we refer to the church as the bride of Christ. And so it all relates back to this. And there are, in chapter 2, verses 6 and 7, "Oh, that his left hand were under my head, and his right hand embraced me. I adjure you, O daughters of Zion, by the gazelles and the wild does, do not stir up or awaken love." And chapter 3, verse 5, very similar. Chapter 8, verses 3 and 4 are those identical words again. And so it's, that repetition of a profession of love that way between this man and a woman and a man. And there's very possible that, some of these, if we were to take some of the shorter poems out of the shorter sayings, that, they could have been used partly in weddings as wedding vows and different things that way. And, so it's just, it's in a way, it's a kind of a strange book that's in the Bible, but when we look at it as, Solomon professing his love for his bride and his bride for Solomon, and also as God professing his love for the people, for his human creation, and you and me, and, it makes us more aware that this yearning that God has for us, and it's more than a yearning. It's this deep, undeniable love, this unbreakable love, that, this love that God has will never end. There is nothing that God will ever do that God won't be faithful to his word, to his promise, to his people. And that's the promise that we make in our wedding vows, to have and to hold from this day forth. And, and I've commented, I know different times in sermons, when we, on the course of the 3-year lectionary, we end up reading the text where Jesus is asked about divorce. And it's a hard subject. It's something that God really didn't intend, but that because of the hardness of the human heart, because of things that happen, it's there. And I've commented, as I started to say, that, the only perfect marriage vow in all of creation has been by God. By God choosing his people Israel. "I take you to be my people, I will be your God. I will be faithful to you. I will lead you, I will guide you, I will provide for you." And God is always, as I said, faithful to his word. So the Song of Solomon, it's, in my Bible, the header here, "Love Songs of the Woman and the Man," springtime rhapsody, the woman's beauty being extolled, and a dream of love. Those are kind of some of the things that the first 5 chapters deal with. So it begins, verse 2, with the lady's voice. "Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine." And then the last part of verse 4, After the woman says, draw me after you, let us make haste. The king has brought me into his chambers. The friends, the people, we exult and rejoice. So the people that are at the wedding, the witnesses, are rejoicing. And then verse 5 again starts, it's the voice of the woman. I am black and beautiful, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gate, and then again, verse 8, the friends. Oh, do you not know, O fairest of wisdom, follow the tracks of the flock, and then verse 9 is the male voice. I compare you, my love, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariots. Some of the comparisons are just kind of, really? But we will, verse 11, we will make you ornaments of gold studded with silver. And then verse 12 again, it's the woman speaking. Well, the king was on his couch, my nard gave his fragrance, my perfume, was fragrant to his nose. And then it goes back and forth some, verse by verse between the man and the woman, a conversation of love going out between there. And then chapter 2, I am a rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys. And then the man, as a lily among the brambles, so is my love among the maidens, more beautiful than all the rest, and goes on with that love song, that love profession, going both directions, from the man to the woman to the man, and back and forth that way. And then again, verse 6 and 7, as I already mentioned, have that repetition coming up later on and through here, and it just continually. Verse 13 again is the lady's voice. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vine its blossom, and give fragrance. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come. And then verse 14 is the male voice responding. Oh, my dove in the clefts of the rock, in the covert of the cliff, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet. And it's one of those conversations that we might be a little bit embarrassed to, if we really heard this conversation going on between this woman and the man. And so it's just, as I said, it's this profession of love. And then chapter 4, it is the man speaking, describing the woman's beauty. How beautiful you are, how very beautiful. Your eyes like doves, your hair is like a flock of goats. That's, moving down the slopes. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes coming up for the washing, all of which bear twins. Your lips are crimson thread, your cheeks are like the halves of a pomegranate, your neck, and some of the illustrations, some of the, what they use is just kind of, really, but you think about, some of that, your eyes are like doves behind a veil. I can understand that. Your hair is like a flock of goats moving down the slopes. And, for a shepherd, for one who's taking care of the goats and the sheep, to observe these animals moving, it is a thing of beauty, a thing of grace, and all of that. So it's, it's one of those things we kind of have to look at it and say, yeah, I understand it. And sometimes we might use some kind of strange adjectives to describe things as well. Chapter 5, again, it's this conversation. The man starts out, I come to my garden, my sister, my bride. I gather my myrrh with my spice. And then the end of verse 1, the friends, eat, friends, drink, and be drunk with love. Let your spirit, let your heart, let your just love, let you overflow, with all of this love. And verse 2 is again the man. I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. This is the woman, I guess, speaking again. But it goes back and forth, this conversation between the groom and the bride, between Solomon and his wife, between God and God's people. And so we look at this book, and some people would say this is another book that just doesn't belong in the Bible because it's so full of illustrations of love. But What is God? God is love, right?